In update 5.8, Alaska got a massive buff. Guns, sonar, HP, the works. Man, this is not the same cruiser I unlocked back in July of 2020. Today's replay will show just how powerful she's become, so settle in for a nice 200k game. To start this video, I will say this, and it might be controversial, I like Alaska better than Stalingrad. There, I said it. And I'll explain why as this video goes along, but apparently Alaska wasn't performing as well as other legendary tier cruisers. I guess I was surprised by this. Most of the times I play her, she does very, very well. And the last video I made on her 8 months ago, we had an amazing game and this happened. It's just such a powerful, versatile cruiser, and now she's even better, so let's take a look at those buffs. 2 seconds off the reload. In this match, we are slinging these large 305mm shells every 15.4 seconds, and honestly, I think I caught the Salem a little bit off guard. He should have got hit a lot worse than that for turning broadside in front of our team, but still, that is a fast reload for 305mm guns. Next up, a large HP buff and added tankiness. A lot of the health points were taken out of the extremities like the stern, the bow, the upper casemate, and I think the superstructure, and placed into the citadel. So overall, it makes her more tanky, and Stalingrad actually got the same treatment, so they're a lot harder to farm now, both of these ships. And don't forget the sonar buffed across the board for ship and torpedo detection, not too shabby. At the start of this match here, we of course sailed directly to the island, and domination is one of the best things you can do in Alaska or any of these American cruisers really. So you can put your radar to work, and it's going to reward us with a summoner being cleaned off the board here with the help of our division mate. Now there was one negative side to this buff, fire duration. It goes from 30 seconds to 45 seconds like Stalingrad now. It burns almost as long as a battleship. However, I really don't see this as being a huge issue. Fires are annoying, yes, but usually you're only going to get burnt down if you move into a pretty bad position or take a fight you shouldn't take or something like that. And fire damage is healable. On that note, Alaska has some amazing heals. And how did this torpedo catch me? Alaska didn't want to back up here, and we do eat a gearing torpedo, which is really tragic, skill issue, but as you'll see, we'll live to fight another day. It's gonna be okay. So I don't want to get ahead of myself on the heals. Let's talk about the build first. Now, I've played Alaska over the years with Einstein, Beepley, and Azerlane Baltimore, but right now in this match, I think I finally settled on Stormin' Norman. That's right, free-to-play guy Norman Scott, for a few reasons, but most of all, I like the extra grouping and the accuracy buffs that he gives. Also, a commander with fully packed should basically be a prerequisite for any cruiser over tier 7. And again, that might be controversial. I know there are a lot of people who really would rather have refill station, but dude, the heals, the sonars, the radars, all of the consumables, it is just way more worth it in most cases to have a third of each of those instead of just 2. But I digress. So Norman Scott, yes, inspirations, Makawa, and Membeli. Although Muller would be pretty good on this build as well because Alaska isn't fast. It's one of the slower cruisers at the tier. Back to the fire duration increase though. So I've heard people whining about this. They're worried they're going to get burnt to a crisp. Alaska's effective HP. So this is a statistic. You take the health pool of a ship, and then you add up all the heals you get, and that is your effective HP. Right now on this build, in this game, 112,000 with 4 heals. I mean, that is a lot. That is a lot. It would be almost impossible to burn Alaska down, especially since you can heal all of that fire damage back. Again, unless you just rush into a dumb spot, but reading the map and knowing when to reposition or get out of a bad spot, kind of like we are doing now, is definitely going to be a key to playing this ship, but unless you just position poorly, it's going to be hard to get burnt down. Alaska's pretty tanky, and that is kind of my point of this video. We're going to take a huge amount of punishment in this match and keep on trucking. So good HP pool, check. Saucy heels and 4 of them on this build, and check. How about the armor? It has a beefy armor belt, 36mm deck, 32mm bow. Alaska is armored better than a lot of battleships in this game. The upper casemate is 28, so yes, a lot of these big 16-inch gun battleships over here, Conqueror, Awami, I'm looking at you. What is there, a Marco Polo or a Giuseppe over here too? Yes, they can overmatch that if they hit in the right spot, but as you can see, I'm trying to be as slippery as possible. Constant throttle juking, turning in, turning out, actually mostly turning out at this point because Awami has us in a bit of a crossfire. But that is one thing that Alaska has going for her that other super cruisers might not have, and that is the ability to dodge. Since she has kind of a small profile and a small turning circle, it is, yeah, it's a hard ship to hit at range if the player knows what they're doing. And keep in mind, I have no agility points at all in this ship here. And that brings me how to play her. Normally playing islands is the best thing to do in this ship. With the slower shell velocity, you can lob islands, you can stay in close to islands and play caps like we did at the start of this match. But, you know, being out in the open water is not a bad thing either. The gun angles, rearward facing, are pretty good here, as you can see. So, yeah, nothing wrong at all with being in the open water in Alaska. And the beautiful thing about it is anytime we want to go dark right here with this amazing concealment, we just stop shooting, and that's all there is to it. The big thing I really wanted to point out, I suppose, it's something I see all the time and I think it's just egregious. Alaska. She's not a Jambar. Don't play her like one. Just sailing straight up and using the front guns to bow tank battleships is just not a good way to play her. So, like mentioned, we read the map. We could tell the A side was just going to get steamrolled, overran, so my div mate and I GTF'd O. GTF'd O? We got the F out of there, and so right now we're kind of kiting away. Now we've been very careful about shooting at the Conqueror and the Salem and those ships because I didn't want Awami to smoke us, but we're also going to try to reset this cap here. Speaking of my division mate, heavens, I didn't mention him before now, I should have. We have a Chad of Chads on our team, the one, the only Sank. And I have it on good authority that Sank thinks most of you, the player base, are bad at the game. So I would urge you to show him the error in his thinking and be sure to focus him down to a crisp if you ever see him in a battle. All right, now that we have that out of the way. So Stalingrad, I've been talking some crap on Stalingrad. What is my problem with it? I think she is so cumbersome. Its turning circle is the size of Rhode Island. Literally, I think it's the worst turning circle in the entire game, I believe. I don't know, fact check me nerds. And the concealment is also terrible. It's a cruiser that gets position locked really easily. So at the beginning of this match, would I ever have gotten Stalingrad out of that position? I really doubt it, and maybe a super Chadley player would have known to leave that position a little sooner than I did, but still, that is one of my big problems. It's a reason I like Baltimore more than Riga as well. Although Riga did just get buffed and I have it on good authority that she's pretty good now, but still, the smaller American cruisers are just easier to get around the map. The better concealment of Alaska helps moving around, easy to not get stuck fighting a flank until everything there is dead. Concealment really is probably one of the most useful traits for a cruiser, and Alaska is 1.1 kilometers better than Stalingrad in this department. Stalingrad just doesn't dodge either, like I was mentioning earlier with our dodging turning out, kind of like this to avoid taking severe punishment. Stalingrad has a hard time with that since she is so big. Also, Stalingrad is the most expensive ship in the game if you converted GXP to doubloons. It would cost 80,000 doubloons, and I believe that is about $320 US if you just bought it outright. Alaska, well, she's free in the Bureau, so I rest my case. Alright, the match. It's 4v4, we have a great points lead, but we're gonna have to get some decaps here and play this smart so that we don't get yeeted and lose the game here. And I know, I've said all of the bad things about Stalingrad without saying any of the good things. That ship has laser beams for guns. Really, they're probably the best guns in the entire game. It's the reason that Petropavlovsk just a minute ago was able to finish off the Salem where I couldn't. These shells are really floaty, quite a lot floatier than Soviet ships, making it hard to hit targets at range, a lot harder. And yes, Alaska shells are quite floaty and they have less armor penetration than the big Soviet guns. One upside though, improved penetration angles for these American AP shells. When ships think they're angled enough to you, well, they just might not be. My favorite case study of this was actually me getting absolutely deleted in a Des Moines. I thought it was beautifully angled to an Alaska at about 6-7 kilometers, trying to show just enough cheek that he wouldn't yeet my guns, and I got smacked through the side of the bow and deleted. So you just can't underestimate the pin angles of Alaska. Now, once again, we are going to try to use an island to our advantage and see if we can get a couple free shots on this Awami. Trying to set up crossfires with our Petro out here to the side, and when you do things like this, there's just not a lot that enemies can do. They either angle to me or they angle to the Petro. Either way though, this Awami has overextended and he is in big trouble. Honestly, he's not that flat broad here, but look at that, 12k and a gun. Alaska is just way too saucy. I think one more salvo is going to finish this guy off, and with that, we should about clinch the win, but the game's not over. There are still 2 healthy ships in B that we're going to have to take out. Now, speaking of these guns getting knocked, it's a big problem on Alaska, I feel like. Turrets can get B-slapped right off the front of your ship if you're not careful. It's another reason why I don't like the bow-in gameplay style. As of now, though, 2023, Alaska is in a super strong place. It's just a beautiful blend of tankiness, mobility, utility with the radar and the sonar, and some great DPM with that 2-second faster reload. Napoli, Yoshino, Stalingrad, Henry, I would kind of put them all in the same category, and I might take Alaska over all of them if I were playing a competitive match where I just needed to pull out a win. Speaking of Alaskas, it's time for a little joust. This fella has, I don't know, 5 times the HP we have. He has me dead to rights, but the game's over, so we are just gonna rush in and see if we can do a drive-by. Again, though, if you're looking for a legendary cruiser to start researching in the Bureau, it's hard to say, but I would probably take Alaska over Henry and the Napoli. It's just a lot easier to play. That's another thing. If you are a newer player and you're kind of, I don't know, you're not good at one of those harder ships, this would be a good one to get. Speaking of pin angles, we are going to try to yeet this guy and fire from the hip. A good solid amount of damage, but unfortunately we didn't finish him off. Alaska Citadel is pretty good below the waterline, so while we did a lot of damage bringing us up to the 190k mark, we got taken out. And I said 200k, didn't I? False advertising, we only got 195,000, but still a solid game, and my teammates are able to finish off my nemesis there for a very good match. Overall, Alaska's great. Research her today. Let me know what you think about her in the comment section down below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content. This is Derka signing off. Catch you in the next one. See ya.